Hello students, today we are doing lesson 5.3, Properties of Inequality, Multiplication and Division. Okay, I'm going to start this lesson showing you not exactly examples, but why we're going to be doing what we're doing today. So if I told you that 5 was less than 6, you would say that was true, right? And yesterday we did things like adding and subtracting numbers from both sides. Well, in an equation, so if I had 5 equals 5, and I added 5 to both sides, that tells me that they're going to stay the same, right? And nothing changed, so that means I can add 5 to both sides, and it would stay correct. Now over here, if I add 5 to both sides, let's see if it stays correct. Now I have 10 is less than 11. Is that true? Yes, it is. So that's correct also. So when we were doing adding and subtracting yesterday, let's try a subtraction one. Let's say 10 is greater than or less than 8. Okay, now let's subtract 2 from both sides. Okay, I'm going to get 8 is greater than or less than 6. That's true, right? So this tells me that I can add like I did here, and I can subtract that like I did here, and it will be true. In an inequality, remember we're talking about inequalities. Okay, let's move on to multiplication and division. If I had this same one, 10 is greater than or equal to 8, and I need it to multiply on both sides. So let's say I multiply by 2 on both sides. I would get 20 is greater than or equal to 16. Okay, that's correct. So it makes it sound like, oh, I can multiply on both sides and it will stay correct. But let's do that same problem. 10 is greater than or equal to 8. But let's multiply by negative 2. Right, that's a negative right there. Okay, so now when I do that, I have negative 20 is greater than or equal to negative 16. Now, is that true? Is negative 20 greater than or equal to negative 16? No, it is not true. Okay, so what are we going to do now that we know that multiplying by negative, okay, multiplying by negative does not work. Okay, I can't just multiply by negative and it be a true statement, because it's not a true statement anymore. So instead of saying, oh, I can't do it, I can't multiply by negative, let's think about what we can do to make that statement true. So instead of, I'm going to rewrite it again, okay, and I'm going to multiply by negative 2, same thing I just did. But when I do it this time, I get negative 20 and negative 16. I'm going to flip my inequality sign. Okay, and now does that make sense? Is negative 20 less than or equal to negative 16? Yes, it is. So this basic thing of trying out a few things without any X's or anything, just trying some stuff, then it tells me that I'm probably going to have to flip my sign, my inequality sign, every time that I multiply by a negative number. Okay, let's try it with division, since we have division that this is going to do. Okay, I'm going to do 9 is greater than 3, and I'm going to say I'm going to divide by 3. So that gives me 3 is greater than 1. Is that correct? Yes, it is correct. So I know that I can divide by positive numbers and it will be correct. Let's try that with a negative number. Let's divide by negative 3. Oops. Okay, so that's going to give me a negative 3 is greater than negative 1. Is that true? Is negative 3 greater than negative 1? No, remember these are negative numbers, so the smaller the number is, then really it's bigger, right? So negative 1 is bigger or better than negative 3. So this one does not work. So that means I cannot divide by negative unless I flip my sign, just like I did in the other one. Okay, so now that we know that we need to flip our sign, so really this would be -3 is less than -1. So when you're doing division or multiplication by negatives, you're going to flip your sign. So let's write that down. Okay, I'm gonna write it down different than the book does because the book's a little bit hard to understand. Inequality rule, that if you multiply or divide by a negative, then flip your inequality sign. Okay, this is big and important right here. And let's move on and do some examples now. Okay, example 1, when we only have 3 examples, we have example 1 is x divided by -2 is greater than -7. Okay, so what am I going to do on this problem? I'm still going to solve it the way that I solve all my other equations when they were equal signs. So to get rid of this -2, I'm going to multiply by -2. So these two are gone, and now I have x, and on the right-hand side, I have a +14. But before I write down my sign, I'm going to look, did I multiply or divide by a negative? I multiplied by a negative, so this sign is going to flip and be less than. So x is less than 14. And the book does not tell you have to check these, but you can check them, so I'm going to show you how. All I'm going to do is pick an x that is less than 14. So I want to make it even because I know I'm going to have to divide by -2. So let's say x is 12. Okay, so I'm going to put 12 in place of the x. Hold on, let me change this a little bit. Okay, this was my original problem. And so I'm going to put 12 in place of the x. So now I have 12 divided by -2, that's -6. And -6 is greater than -7. Remember, when you talk about negatives, it's really the smaller number is bigger. Okay, so that one checked. I have my sign right. If I had my sign reversed and I picked a number bigger than 14, this would not check out. Okay, let's move on to example 2. Example 2 is 3x is greater than 9. So, simple problem, like we've done before in equations, I'm going to divide by 3. And that means these are going to go away, so I have x is greater than 3. Notice, I did not change my sign because I am dividing by a positive number, okay? This is what tells you whether or not you flip your sign. Not your answer, but the number that you're multiplying or dividing by. Okay, let's move on to example 3. One more. And I have -5x is greater than or equal to 25. Okay, so I'm going to divide by -5 here. And so these are gone. And I get x. And on the other side, I get -5. But my sign right here is going to flip. Okay, so it's greater than or equal to. It does not flip because this is -5. It flips because these are -5. Okay, it's what you're multiplying or dividing by. Not what your answer is, but what you're multiplying or dividing by. So this is my answer. X is less than or equal to -5. So in the future, for grading purposes, if this number is right, so some of y'all think, oh, that's my answer, but this number is not, this sign is not, that means your whole problem is wrong, okay? This is not wrong, but if you were to get the sign wrong, then your whole problem is wrong. I'm not just looking at this, I'm looking at both of these, and both have to be correct in order to get your problems correct. Okay, that's it for today. Pretty quick lesson. Just remember to flip around your sign. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Let me do a couple where you do them on your own. So I'm going to just make up one here. Let's do 6y is greater than 12. And let's do one more. X over negative 2 is less than or equal to 3. Okay, solve both of those. Hit pause, solve both of those, and then come back. Okay, now you should be back by now. So let's do example 4 together. We're going to divide by 6, and we get y is greater than 2. That's it. You didn't have to flip anything because you were dividing by a positive number. Over here, let's multiply by negative 2. And that's going to be x is greater than or equal to negative 6. So notice that I switched my sign around, and make sure that yours is greater than or equal to get that correct. Okay, that's it. We will see you next time.